Hello and welcome to the Geeks Review. I'm Royce.
I'm Jacob.
Today we're going to be discussing some shows new and a bit older, some related to the recent Golden Globe Awards ceremony that happened this week, such as The Queen's Gambit, which is a series which was airing on Netflix last year. Have you seen The Queen's Gambit?
I have not seen it, but I have got second-hand information, such as the knowledge that if you took two of the main characters and put them together, their eyes would be the right space apart.
That's probably Anya Taylor-Joy, who won the Golden Globe.
Fantastic actress. Absolutely
Yes.
Fantastic actress.
She was Magic in The New Mutants, the X-Men movie,
She was.
and Split with evil James McAvoy.
The best kind of James McAvoy, if you ask me.
Yes. And as for the eye thing, I think that's probably Harry Melling.
I believe so, yes. He has very...
It was Dudley Dursley from Harry Potter.
A man with a great amount of focus in the eyes. He can focus on anything intently, as long as it's not more than 3 inches to the side of his head.
But The Queen's Gambit is based on a novel of the same name. I wondered if this was actually a true story, but no, it's based on a novel. And she plays Beth Harmon, who's a chess prodigy. She was orphaned as a girl, sent to an orphanage, and while there she develops an obsession with chess and an addiction to the government-supplied tranquilizers. So it follows her into adulthood as she starts competing on like world master levels of chess, and you know her trials, her tribulations, her struggles, and it's good. I'll say that much. A lot of people said it's the greatest show to come out in 2020. It was up there, not the best show I saw, but I watched from all different eras. I mean, Frasier is great.
Frasier is great if you love stuffy, upper-class white dudes being tools, which luckily I do.
Yeah, as do I.
And I adore Kelsey. I don't know if he's a nice guy person in real life, but I adore Kelsey Grammer in things.
Oh, I mean, Beast. Best Beast.
Fantastic. Absolutely flawless Beast.
Sideshow Bob.
Yes, he's just very verbose. He's got a fantastic voice. It carries well. It sounds very posh and upper class. And you just kind of want to sock him in the mouth with your fist sometimes. But I think that adds to his charm.
David Hyde Pierce in Frasier. We're going to talk a bit about Frasier because that's actually been announced to come back. They're doing a reunion.
Oh, God. That'll end well.
Yeah, because David Hyde Pierce as Niles isn't coming back, allegedly.
Well, what's the point?
Yeah.
You can't have Frasier without Niles.
Yeah, it's just that. Because, I mean, Martin, the actor who played their father, passed away a few years ago. So that's... And, I mean, the dog's probably gone now.
I mean, logically, yeah, sad to say.
Yeah. So it's sort of like, what's the story going to be with that then?
Well, I guess it's just going to be Frasier with just Frasier.
Frasier just going mad, eh?
Yes, actually, I would watch that, just Frasier suddenly spiraling into his own self-deprecation depression because he's got no one left in his life to keep him centered. Now, that would be an interesting watch.
Oh, I read an interesting fan script last year. It was Frasier and Niles become cannibals.
That sounds absolutely fantastic, and I need to see this immediately.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. It was, Frasier the Cannibal, I believe it was called, and you probably find it,
I can absolutely see that working too. Just Kelsey Grammer and Niles just being very posh, upper class, while just munching on some poor bastard they've caught behind the local Dairy Queen.
Well, I think they actually turned on Daphne in the end.
Oh, poor Daphne. She did nothing to deserve this.
But I think the inciting incident that inspired their cannibalistic urges were actually discovering Hannibal Lecter. We're sort of coming full circle because I was going to talk about the new Silence of the Lambs series, Clarice, a bit later in the show. But they were like, "Oh, Dad, you can't be watching this horrible tosh about, cannibals." And when they actually find out that Hannibal Lecter was a psychologist himself, they go like, "Well, he's a learned mind. Maybe we should try this."
Oh, that's absolutely sounds like some kind of deep web left episode of Frasier, and that is fantastic.
It was really perfect. It even had the credits scene, like Scrambled Egg song is playing, like they actually describe what's happening as they're cutting up Daphne.
Poor Daphne.
And Martin gets in on it. That was a trip.
It certainly sounds like a trip, yes.
But The Queen's Gambit.
Yes, back to what we're actually talking about.
Yeah, The Queen's Gambit, it was, one thing that was quite positive about it was that it's sort of a female fantasy in the fact that she's never judged or victimized for being a woman. At all, in the entire series.
That's a nice change of pace for these kind of TV shows.
Yeah, and it was like she goes to the orphanage and there's the the old caretaker, and you sort of think, oh, something's going to happen here, something bad's going to happen, this is going to be the inciting incident. But no, he teaches her how to play chess, and they become friends, and really quite wholesome.
Oh, that's always nice to see. The Mr. Miyagi of chess.
And I mean, she does become a drug addict and an alcoholic, but it's very sort of like wine mum kind of thing, as opposed to like collapsed in gutters and
Right.
that.
So a bit more of a sterile view of alcoholism and drug abuse as opposed to
Yeah.
the not particularly pleasant reality of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's rated MA, but it's like drug use is like why it's rated MA, but it's just like take a pill, drink some alcohol. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not like she's, in a back alley with needles and all that stuff. It's like, oh, okay, is this rating really appropriate? I guess, considering what it is, but sort of in practice, it doesn't quite.
But we all know how prudish the ratings board are.
I've wanted to make a movie for a long time and have it completely G-rated in content, and then just in the middle have a character scream the C word.
I mean, that's a PG-rated movie does get one F-bomb
Yeah.
per movie. Can we convince them to give a G-rated movie a C-bomb?
Yeah. It's like, what would that rate it? It's like, well, while the content is all, pretty family friendly, they do use the C word. So is that a PG or is that an M? Does it bump it up to an MA?
It wouldn't surprise me. They don't like their naughty words.
This show, it's brilliantly shot, brilliantly acted, great score and soundtrack. And it really sells the game of chess well. It doesn't oversell it. It doesn't make it more dramatic than it actually is. Apparently, sales of chess and interest in chess has actually risen since this show has come out. It's written really cleverly because with chess, 32 pieces on a 64 square board. It's with so many, combinations you can come up with that, potential moves. But it's something you can control, and it's something you can write and then have characters deliver at breakneck speed to believably sell their intelligence and genius of their chosen field. That was really good. But The Queen's Gambit, it's on Netflix. Anya Taylor-Joy won a Golden Globe. She's really good in it, and she's been great in everything. I mean, like Split and The Witch. Have you seen The Witch?
I have, yes. That was quite an interesting movie.
That was really quite dark and demented.
It wasn't the kind of horror movie I'm used to watching, and not the kind of thing I would usually watch, but I did find it strangely interesting. Because not a lot really happens in it for most of it. It's just a lot of tension.
Oh, tension overload.
I just wish I could understand a word they were saying half the time.
Because, yeah, they do actually speak in authentic, was it 16th century or 17th century, speech? The actual spelling. I did read that it was actually inspired by real-life testimonies at the time, based upon, supernatural goings-on. It's probably even before then, this is before America was even properly a country. They're Puritans.
Well,
Really?
these are all Puritan pilgrims and all that. So this was quite some time ago.
Yeah.
It was back in the early days of settlements when they were still trying to figure out how to make a city.
Yeah, and the main family in that get booted out because they were either too religious or not religious enough.
I think it was a case that they weren't quite religious enough, more than likely, because that's usually the case back then. People loved their God back then.
Yeah. And then it was all about, proper sin, lust and all that sort of stuff. And I guess disobeying your parents, which
Which is my favourite sin. Well, it was when I was younger.
Yes.
Sorry, Mum and Dad.
And a really scary goat.
It is, old Black Phillip. Which was sad, because I've got a soft spot for goats and rabbits, and they made them evil, and I felt quite upset at that.
I don't remember the rabbits, but yeah, the goat was cool.
There was a rabbit at one point where the demon had possessed a rabbit and stared at her.
Wow.
It was only brief. Most of the time it was Black Phillip.
Yes. And naked ladies in the woods grinding up babies.
Yeah, classic anti-pagan Christian propaganda. That kind of stuff. Back in the day, Burn the Witch and all that. The kind of stuff the people back then thought was just totally reasonable.
Yes. It reminds me, actually, a more common punishment for witches was drowning.
It was. Because they believed if a witch floated, they were a witch. If they drowned, they weren't. Not taking into account of the fact that either way they're going to kill the witch. So, suffice to say, the Puritans weren't the brightest of bulbs.
No. That was also at the time of humours and all that stuff. They believed everyone was filled with humours, bile and blood
all that stuff.
and all that stuff. Nonsense.
Yeah, exactly.
Clarice is the new series that's airing on Stan. This is a sequel to Silence of the Lambs, which you haven't seen.
I'm ashamed to say no, I haven't. I have enough secondhand information to carry conversation, but I've never actually gotten around to watching them.
They're all... I was going to say they're all good, but no, they're not all
I've
good.
heard very mixed reviews about the sequels, so...
Yeah.
I know there was that one scene where he was picking that guy's brain.
Yeah, that was in the self-titled Hannibal movie. And of course there was the big Hannibal series a few years ago with Mads Mikkelsen.
Fantastic actor.
Yes. He's the kind of guy where it's like, oh, he's playing Hannibal Lecter, of course. I mean, just look at him.
Yeah, no, I never watched the series, but I saw it, I was like, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Eddie Izzard was actually in an episode or several.
One of my favourite comedians. Might have to watch it after all.
Yes. Yeah, I do remember, because the character in that, Hugh, Will Graham.
Will Graham.
Yeah, the main character in that, he was like an empath, so he could kind of, put himself in the shoes of the murderer, which led to copious amount of scenes of him actually carrying out the murders. So Eddie Izzard's character broke free from his prison cell, so Will imagined himself getting on top of this nurse and like crushing her eyes with his bare hands. And I remember this was before Oberyn Martell happened in Game of Thrones, that infamous scene.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
No. But this was quite a traumatizing thing to see.
It's a bit modern.
Yeah. But Clarice, this is the new series about the character Clarice Starling.
Stands to reason.
Most famously played by Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs.
Fantastic actress.
And Julianne Moore in the less good Hannibal. There's an interesting thing. I guess maybe if you have knowledge, you might know that in the sequel book to Silence of the Lambs, spoilers for a 20-plus-year-old book, Clarice and Hannibal Lecter fall in love and run away and do crimes together.
I was aware of that, which I always thought was a bit of a strange way to start that and end that book. That was
very.
I know that Hannibal Lecter's supposed to be very charismatic and charming, but he's still a murderous cannibal.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why Jodie Foster didn't return to that movie.
That's a fair decision, I think.
And then they went and changed the movie.
Yeah, they did a lot. And they ate Gary Oldman.
Yeah, he was a nasty person in that.
Yeah, they made him right nasty. Fantastic effects, though, on the makeup.
I actually heard they asked Christopher Reeve to play that. Superman Christopher Reeve, who was,
Really?
was he quadriplegic or paraplegic?
Quadriplegic. He was paralyzed from the neck down.
Wow, yeah. They actually asked him to play that role, and he was all on board until he discovered what the character did. The Silence of the Lambs sequel. Maybe you should have had some idea.
There's a big difference from going from a murderous cannibal to a murderous pedophile.
Yeah.
You can argue which is worse till the cows come home, but most people feel a little more uncomfortable in the idea that their person does unspeakable things to children. That's just a bridge too far, understandably, for most people.
Well, that somewhat ties into a later topic. This is a very...
Oh, this is going fantastic. Royce, this is just sparkling conversation, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, Clarice stars Australia's Rebecca Breeds, and she looks and sounds like the actor Elliot Page. But I actually heard that Elliot was considered, or one of the names thrown around, to play Clarice Starling in the Hannibal series if it ever got to the point of recreating Silence of the Lambs. Which I was thinking, that would have been awesome to see. Like, that would have got me watching it to actually see them. Rebecca Breeds looks and sounds like Elliot Page, and that's one positive of this series. So this series, Clarice, is set...
Oh, that bodes well.
It's set a year after the events of Silence of the Lambs, and it recreates them to a T. Like, the character of Buffalo Bill, and just, like, it rubs the lotion on its skin. There's so many references to that, to the point where it's kind of like, why do people know, like, rub the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again? It's...
Well, yeah, no one in the movie actually saw that.
Yeah, to be fair, the girl who was tortured there did escape and did live. But her telling, I guess, the press or investigators, like, the exact terminology, the exact words used.
And the voice and the way she says it and all that.
Yeah.
That's a strange thing for a victim to remember and then share with people.
Yes. So you get a lot of flashbacks, a lot of recreations, because this Clarice, she looks nothing like Jodie Foster, but she's meant to be, like, the exact same. And, she's put on this new task force to try and, work these new depraved homicides. This is very much a like a network show, like where every week it's a new monster of the week kind of thing.
Right, yep.
Like episode 2 is like a Waco style case, with a sort of an armed standoff siege between armed militants and the police. And episode 1, which is the problematic bit, has so you got a bunch of women getting killed, and it's like they're stabbed and they're bitten, and Clarice expertly surmises, this is not a deranged, psychopath. This is a cool, calculated, hit made to look like a psychopath. So it turns out all these women were actually whistleblowers for a pharmaceutical company. They were test subjects for a migraine medication, and the migraine medication gave all their children autism.
Oh, that's not how autism works.
No.
It's not even remotely how autism works.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, that's bad. That is really, that's atrocious.
It sort of slips it in there, like, oh, this is the reason why this happened, but just don't pay attention to it. So like, wait, okay.
Did you just say autism?
To steal a joke from a YouTuber, the Cinema Snob, who reviewed this, and he said, I know this series was in production for a while, but was this written in 1993?
Yeah, because, my God, we know that's not how it works.
Yeah, so that was a bit like, oh, okay. And like I said, it's Monster of the Week. Everything is kind of, a new psychopath every week, which Hannibal was, I think. There was always like the ongoing plot, but I do remember very much it was like, oh, there's a new murder case, there's a new deranged psychopath. There's always, the story arc of, the main murderer or Hannibal doing his thing. But
and I do recall from what little I saw of it, it was also quite fond of murder porn.
Yeah, lots of gore.
A lot of body horror.
Yeah.
Very, I suppose you could say artistic, if you're a little bit sick.
Yeah. I actually had a friend back when that was on who went and reblogged all that murder porn and all the gore and all the body horror stuff.
Is he okay?
Well, I had to say to her, are you okay? And she's just like, it's art. Don't be so sensitive. And I'm like...
Yes, but it's also horrendous.
It was. And very realistic, yeah.
Uncomfortably so from what I saw.
Clarice has... Well, I mean, you do get some murder stuff, but it's yet to go that far with, like, rib cages ripped out and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Apart from the whole autism thing, it's interesting to see. I mean, Rebecca Breed's, I'm liking her as Clarice. Like I said, it's sort of like watching the Clarice that never was from Hannibal. But that's probably more of a discredit to her to say, she reminds me of another better actor.
Well, yeah, that's not a bit of a backhanded compliment, that one, but...
But yeah, she's good.
Well,
so,
at least it's got that going for it.
If you are a Hannibal Lecter. But yeah, they can't actually mention Hannibal Lecter by name because of rights issues.
Of course they can't.
So it's like, oh, you had that special relationship with that person.
His name rhymes with Hannibal Schmechter.
But Clarice, that's on Stan. Also on Stan, to tie back to the topic of child predators.
Oh, here we go. Fantastic. We're back here.
Yeah. Have you heard of the musician Tekashi 6ix9ine?
I've heard of him, yes. I knew it. No, he died?
Did he die?
Oh, I think of a different one.
If he died, that's...
Royce, quick, research. I know one of those...
quite a few people have died.
Rapper types passed away in recent years, but it might have been someone else.
No, he's still alive, unfortunately.
Right. Oh, he was the one that did the naughty things that he shouldn't have done.
Yeah, with the rainbow hair. Rainbow hair and copious amount of tattoos. He's a self-styled supervillain, which is the name of the 3-part documentary series airing every Monday afternoon on Stan.
Right.
Supervillain. And this is a documentary that loves the sound of its own voice.
Oh, God.
And I mean, it is narrated by Giancarlo Esposito of Breaking Bad and The Mandalorian. But it is quite pretentious. It is quite up itself. It's quite artsy. It's like, what makes a supervillain? They take trauma and they get effed up by it. They define their villainous rages, like the Joker, like Darth Vader.
Right. Yeah, that's a bit...
Yeah. This was a guy who rose to prominence through, loud, aggressive rapping, throwing lots of money down on YouTube music videos, and associating with the Bloods.
Right, so riding a lot of coattails, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. It was like, yeah, while the documentary itself is a bit, I do find like the insights of industry people and personal friends of his who kind of recognised, him manipulating things, and like someone actually says, if he had been in marketing, he would have been really good, but instead, he tattooed 69 over his body 69 times.
Look, we've all got to have a hobby.
Because that's deep. Yeah. It is kind of interesting, but I don't think 6ix9ine himself is worth talking about too much. He's just kind of boring. Like, everyone's like, oh, his music's amazing. And of course that's all subjective, but if you've heard like Rick Ross, it basically sounds like that, but with more uses of the N-word, which is interesting because he's Mexican. So
that's awkward.
I
don't think Mexicans are supposed to use that word.
I don't think anyone's really supposed to use that word.
Well, you're not supposed to.
No.
That's okay.
It's the kind of thing that actually made me think, someone would look at this and go like, oh my God, this is the perfect Joker origin story. Because they keep playing footage of the Joker, not Jared Leto's Joker, funnily enough, who's kind of would match this guy closer.
The one covered in tattoos and acts like an absolute tosspot.
Yeah, pretty much 1-to-1. But they don't feature any footage of him. They have Joaquin Phoenix and they've got Heath Ledger.
So the two Jokers who are based on deeper psychosis and a desire to reform society, as opposed to the one who just was covered in tattoos and screeched.
Yeah.
Right.
Just a knobhead.
That's an interesting choice. Interesting choice.
Maybe they knew like how badly received Jared Leto's Joker was.
It was pretty badly received. For good reason.
Yeah. They knew that if they put that in there, they'd be like, well, that's too on the nose. We're making him look like a real asshole. Which he is. Because, he court documents and he's got like a 4-year probation for, filming a 13-year-old girl in acts of, impropriety, which is not very gangster. It's not a gangster crime. Guns and drugs, that's all gangster lifestyle. But,
filming a minor just makes you a sick bastard.
Which he is, yeah.
If you're filming 13-year-olds doing acts, then you've got very big issues.
Very much so. Pleasant show, this one.
This is the real riot, this one.
Have you seen anything new recently?
I have not really had the chance to watch anything new lately, so I've just mainly just been rewatching comfort movies.
Oh, yeah?
So I'll get home from work, I'll be too tired to focus on anything, so I just chuck on my favourite comfort movies and just pass out.
What's one of your favourite comfort movies?
Either Doom.
Ah, yes, which we've discussed.
Yeah. Or the Mummy movies are also big favourites of mine.
Oh, the Mummy. Well, tune in next week. We're going to be discussing mostly the first 2 Mummy movies with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. Should be good.
Should be good. A much more light-hearted episode, I think. That one's going to be a bit more jovial.
Yeah, I hope so. Anyway.
Less talking about unspeakably horrible things and more just unspeakably attractive actors and actresses.
Tune in for that. I'm Royce.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.